there's more behind the scene. But then that's the thing, is that there's more behind that scene and that scene and that scene, which is why health has no look to it. It can never have a look to it. Health will never have an image. Hi, I'm Wheezy.
And I'm Stuffy.
And welcome to the Daily Humans podcast. Why I'm wheezy is because I'm asthmatic and I got lungs that ain't working like they should. So I'm wheezy. And why are you? What are you, Nina?
Stuffy.
Stuffy. Why are you stuffy?
Well, I have, it's a long story, but essentially I have an ear issue and it's causing my nose to be stuffy at times. And today, by the graciousness of my life and my brain and my head and the situation that's going on, I just woke up with one half of my nose being extremely stuffy. Yeah, stuffy or snuffy or whatever you want to call it. And so if you hear me sounding like I'm sick at any point in time throughout this podcast, there you go. Now you know why.
We're actually a part of the Seven Dwarfs clan, so this is our own version. Yeah. Wheezy and Stuffy.
Ooh,
I'm pretty sure they do exist in the Seven Dwarfs, though, but I can't remember all of them. Sneezy. You're Sneezy.
Sneezy, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd be. There's no asthmatic in the Seven Dwarfs.
It's time we bring some inclusion into the picture, you know?
Yep, hi-ho. Hi-ho. It's off to work, I go puff, puff, dun, 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 hi-ho, puff, puff.
That's perfect. I love that. I'm so sorry. It's hard being an asthmatic, truly. I hope that someday you can have both lungs at full capacity, that which you need with the air you breathe.
That's the goal.
So you can be free and flow and, do mind work and dance and sing and do everything you need to do.
Yep. That is the goal. There was a point where I actually got it to a really good point. There was so much strength in that, and I was building that strength and resistance, and I hadn't used my Ventolin in so long. But then obviously things happened and health went downhill, and then here we are. Now I'm having to go back from the start to build it up again. Slowly, slow process. Yeah. That's such a mental killer to go through that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you know too, Nina, to go from full body strength to an extent.
Yes.
Or to even get to that point and then all of a sudden, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Here you go. Healing. Live it.
It's not linear.
It's not linear. I say that a lot. I'm just like, it's not linear. It's not linear, but go F yourself.
It reminds me a lot of what we talked about prior when it comes to being on top of the mountain. And then surely we go right back down and then we go back up. And sometimes you go, and it's just an up and down. But I can definitely relate on the whole, being at your best and then watching your body just kind of go back to the way that it used to be, operate in the space that it used to be, and how just kind of the patience that it requires is that of like out of worldliness. So I admire you, Ash.
Thank you, friend. I know that you know exactly what it's like. And I know many people do know what it's like to get to a really good place and then something happens and you've got to rebuild. Yeah. It's been kind of the topic of conversation lately, is having to create a foundation from scratch without actually knowing how to do that and to rebuild from that. That's in everything, not even just mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. You've got to create the foundations and build them up yourself. And this is what it's been like health-wise for both of us. It's been a journey. It's been a journey in our 20s. The 20s have just been entirely healing mentally and physically, and that's just been and spiritually, and that's just been it. So when I say I'm looking forward to my 30s, I mean it, because I'm about done
Yeah.
with my 20s. Lots of love to my 20s, but honey, all you were healing. The project is finished. I'm finishing it.
Yeah. It's definitely an interesting time to be in your 20s, especially. I
Mm,
don't know if you can relate, but growing up, I always had this idea of what 20s are like. I'm sure many of us can agree with, oh, I'm going to do this and it's going to be that and it's going to be so fantastic. And then being in a
yeah,
season for a long time, whether it was willing or unwilling, of just growing and learning and evolving and undoing things and have to kind of get to the peak of your health in this case and then go back down and have to redo it all
yeah,
over again, but this time with everything involved, not just the body, not just the
yep,
image of it, but with your metaphysical self as well, with your spirit, with your soul, with your spirituality, with your wisdom and what you know, and just everything. It's a journey, and sometimes it can get tough. But I think right
mm,
now, I've gotten into a place where I can be more appreciative of it. I don't know if you remember this. I don't know if you saw this, Ashley, but years ago, there was this guy on social media. I'm not sure which channel or which space he occupied, but he
mm.
essentially was like a fitness trainer and he was super healthy. He was at peak health. And then he was like, I a lot of times get customers. I a lot of guys a lot of times
Sure.
get people in who cannot relate to what I'm saying, to what I'm speaking, because I've been in this industry for such a long time. And so, what I'm going to do is take a project on where I gain all the weight that I had before prior to me becoming a fitness trainer and restarting it all over again just so that I can learn. I don't know how healthy that is because I'm sure that takes a hit on your body. But at the same time, he wanted to redo that journey so he can have more compassion and understanding for people who are not in the kind of top tier, I'm a fitness, enthusiast, I have muscles on my knees type of person.
Muscles on
Um,
my knees. Bang, bang.
yes. Bang, bang. I love that.
Pew, pew.
You do. And he did that and he documented his journey when he gained all the weight and then on his
Mm,
return to a healthier level. And sometimes when I'm at my lowest, I'm like, this is kind of like my journey of it, but it's except of instead of the physical aspect of it, I'm also dealing with the health and the emotional aspect of that healing and that growth. So I'm actually
mm.
excited. I'm looking forward to it. But it's been a journey and so lots of what are they called? Speed bumps? Yeah, a lot of speed bumps in the road.
A good explanation that you made to speed bumps, just to say this too. You know, when you hit a speed bump, you've got to slow right down. Here, we've got to slow
Mm,
down to 10. I think it's 10
yeah.
or 20. And that reminds me, I don't know why, but I use that as a metaphor in life of like, well, at a speed bump, you got to slow down. Otherwise, if you go too fast, you're going to ruin your car. And I use that
Oh,
metaphor in my own life.
wow.
If I go too fast over that speed bump, I always end up hurting the car. I
Mm,
always hurt myself. So a speed bump in the road obviously needs some time and patience and slowness
mm,
from it. And every single time I've taken it slowly, it's been absolutely fine and I've gotten past okay. Every time I haven't, I've scraped the front of the car on the road. Something has happened, you know? So I think in general life sense, that metaphor really does connect to a lot of us of how we evolve our life. Just to put that out there too, since she said speed bumps.
that's beautiful. I've
Yeah.
never heard that before, so I will definitely take that and put it into the dictionary of my brain. So thank you for your
I'm gonna
beautiful
say that
wisdom.
I kind of created it. You know me. I'll hear a good metaphor in a movie and that's it. I'll connect it to life. Like Bilbo
Yes.
Baggins, that's a big one.
Yeah.
100%. Speed bumps. You want a stop sign? Okay. A stop sign means that you need to take a moment in life to stop and to be
Mm,
and to be present. See?
yeah.
I got you all. Everything in life is an actual metaphor.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is
Are
actually,
you
isn't it?
thinking? You had your thinking face on.
Yeah, like, because everything in life is a metaphor, because we are just like our bodies, our human experiences are just a metaphor for the soul transition and the evolvement of our souls. Oh my God, I can't. That just, you like did the mic drop.
You just said what you said, and that was like a moment, like an explosion. You know how we only use 10% of our brains? Nina just used 100 in that moment. Like your whole brain just lit up like a Christmas tree. Pew! It's here. I know. I'm smart. Nina's wisdom.
Yes.
Nina's
What is our
wisdom.
body? What is our body but the vehicle of our souls? I should just be a philosopher.
Oh, honey, you're a poet. You definitely should be a philosopher.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Mm, you said it.
It came from you, though.
It's
I
all
just
you. It's
completed
all
it.
you. I'll say something and then she will add her wisdom to it and then she'll be like, it's all you. And I'm like, but it's all you. And you'll know it's you. Do you want to
It's
rock,
us.
paper, scissors this? Because, sorry, do you want to rock, paper, scissor this crap? Because it was you. The journey of the human body has been such a discovery. I have to say this. It's been such a discovery, especially when you're open to observing and learning about your own human body, but also just in general form, how it evolves and how it unfolds and things that it does. You think it's a completely different version of you. It's kind of like there's you, and then you're looking at your body and you're like, you're a completely different person. That's what it's felt like on this journey for me personally. Like my body is a completely different person, and then there's just me. Is there like a completely different person living within me?
Yeah.
Do you have like brown hair? What does your face look like? What's your ethnic background? Just casually asking my body, who are you?
Yeah.
That's the best way that I can honestly explain it. Truly. Especially in the last 2 years. Um, yeah, it's definitely been a full awakening, as they say in the spiritual terms, the reawakening on the next level, which is physical body. That's kind of the conversation that we're going to be having in this episode is about human body, self preferences, societies, lovely, such supportive human ideologies on the human body. They're just so supportive. They have made
They
me want
are.
to like thrive in love for self. And I'm being so sarcastic when I say that. The complete and utter definition of sarcasm. Just
Yeah.
things along those topics, especially as women and our experiences with our bodies and how society has treated them and reacted to them. And that whole conversation is what we're going to be unfolding today, which is kind of
Mm.
started off with it. We've trickled it into this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what we're going to be unfolding in this episode.
I definitely relate with just how wonderful society can be when it comes to your body and appreciating it and actually being in it and living in it and the experience of it. Because
Mhm.
not sure if I ever mentioned this in any episode prior, but I was in school for a very long time, I would say, for medical fitness. And learning about the human body was such a massive experience for me because every single cell in the body is literally working to keep you alive. And that makes sense, right? On the outside, when you hear this, like, yeah, of course, I'm alive. My body is trying to keep me alive. But the extent to which the tiniest microcosm in your system is working to keep you alive and keep you happy and keep you sane. It's like a whole little support team within your body. And then seeing firsthand how a lot of I would say the fitness world treats the body, which is more so based on the outside of it, the appearance of it. How many muscles do I have? Can I do this workout? Rather than how your body is actually functioning, rather than what your health is actually like. That was a massive disparity for me when I realized this because I was like, oh, went into learning about this because I was curious about fitness. I love fitness. I loved working out. And it was a big part of my mental health journey and becoming more stable mentally. But when I actually started learning about it and how, did you know that when you have depression, you can't work out like other people?
Mm,
This is something that is
yeah.
not discussed in the fitness
Hmm.
world. Depending on what you have in either if it's mentally based, emotionally based, or physically based, you have to have your own structure of how you work out and what type of exercises you do. And that is incredibly dependent on where you're at internally and spiritually and
Mm,
mentally. And I think seeing the difference between how, as well, outside of the fitness world, how people treat you based on your body type and what you look like, it's ridiculous. You know, we need to be more
yeah.
supportive. And we say this all the time. We need to be a more supportive society, more inclusive. And yet, why are we still talking the way we are about the human body? A large part of what I've recently discovered is that even when you work out and you appear healthy, first of all, it doesn't mean you are healthy. But second of all, it doesn't mean that you're actually breathing correctly. Because the thing that could be happening, you could be gaining all these muscles, but there's a specific name for what I'm referring to, but it's not coming to mind right now. So I apologize, guys. But there's a certain level within your body to how your body actually takes in oxygen. And a lot of people are deficit in that. So while you're working out, you're actually harming your body by the amount of
Mm,
exercise and pressure. And we got to go, we got to build these muscles,
hmm.
right? The more you push, the more you're actually hurting your body because your body is not able to take in oxygen. Even if you're an
Yeah.
asthmatic, you can't work out the way people who aren't asthmatic work out. And I feel like there's
Hmm.
so much just I don't know what it is. If it's ignorance or unwillingness to incorporate more people, but it's unfortunate to see this spread out all throughout the world with many
Mm,
different topics, but it is most important that we take care of our bodies because like I said, every single ounce in your body wants to keep you alive. And I definitely relate to
yes.
what you said earlier as well, with that sometimes your body can feel like a completely different person because your body is separate from you. You are in the body. You are not the body. You're just in it. And therefore we need to take care of it because
Mm,
just like our mental health, just like our emotional health, our body is the vehicle. And the faster you go, the more you're going to crash it or bust it up and injure it and hurt it. And so I'm very excited to dive into our healing journey today, honestly,
mm.
on the physical level.
My version of what I really come to in watching society and hearing its conversations is one, a lot of the conversations aren't actually within the actual health of the human body, but within the look aspect of the body,
Mhm.
the physical look and how someone looks. But also, we are just scratching the surface on a lot of things. And I think that also means the human body as well, and how it actually, like I said, how it actually unfolds, how it actually works, how it actually moves. Yes, I'm sure there's plenty of research in that out there, but understanding the deeper connection on the human body enough to validate its existence, that it's more than just a physical look,
Mm.
that it's way more than that. Way more than that. And everyone has a very different way that they have to work towards health, the actual version
Yeah.
of health, actual version of health, not the ideology of how do I look, how do I present myself, what is the preferred weight in my culture, and what is the exact shape that I need to be accepted and validated. What is validated? What does that mean? I'd like to be validated. To be validated, to feel worthy and to feel loved. If you really even hear that, a lot of it really combines in with mental health.
Mm.
Feeling like you want to be accepted and worthy and heard and loved and appreciated and be complimented at the expense of your body, your actual health. You know, that's what I presently find. And I've done this too. This isn't just my observation from society. I've done this too. I have injured my body. I have neglected my body. I have ignored it. I have treated it quite badly because of I gotta speak slowly. It's okay. I'll get it out. Because I was taught to, and also I taught myself to, and I took on roles that I thought were right because I thought I had to in order to be a part of society and to be a part of the accepted version of society. Inclusivity and the way that people promote that definitely wasn't around when I was a teen, when you were a teen, Nina. Definitely wasn't around as young adults. And even now, the preaching of inclusivity is only within people's comfort zones.
Yeah.
It's not actually, in the real definition of it. It's only within what people are comfortable with,
Yeah.
Which just invalidates so much out there and ignores it and is ignorant to it. I came across this TikTok video of some guy asking girls, what preferred weight do you want to be? And they were saying, and I think he was asking them their height as well. And I think one of them, and I could be wrong when I say the height, but one of them said, I'm 5'7" or something like that. And then she said she wants to be 55 kilos. And I thought to myself, I might not have the research, no, I might not have the diploma and I might not have that kind of awareness. But if there's one thing I know is that a lot of what is said is not actually for what does my body need from me? Where does my body need me to be? Where is it even at in the first place? What's the current state of it? Am I breathing properly? Right? What's my thoughts like? What's my memory like? My kidneys, my liver, really assessing inwards. And this is what I had to learn too. When I said that a healing journey has been mentally, but also physically, I've had to learn a lot about my body, and I've had to, because following society's version of health, it was nowhere near any kind of stability mentally or physically to follow society's ideation of it. I had to listen to myself and focus on myself. What is wrong? What do you need from me right now? And society can sprout the same crap that it's been sprouting for generations. Oh, you need to lose weight. You need to do this. You need to do that. No, you don't know my journey. You don't know what's unfolded. You don't know what's happened with my body and why it is where it's at. You have no idea. I know. So I'm going to do the journey as it needs me to and listen to what it needs me to and seek professional help where I have, and I am at the moment, and listen to what they also can provide for me too in guidance and assistance and see where that pathway takes me. But it's about my body and my version of my body and not everyone else's. And that's something I've noticed as well, is that we're listening to society because we've been taught that they and everyone else holds the power to our body and to where it should be and what we should be doing. They do not hold the power to your life, your mental health, your physical health. They hold no power. It is you. It is all you. But you've been taught to give that power to other people, thinking that they know better. That when someone jumps in one of your comments and says, you're fucked, that all of a sudden this switches in your mind where you think, I need to lose weight no matter the cost, no matter what it does, no matter what it damages, no matter anything else. But that person's comment means more. That person's opinion means more. That personal trainer means more. That celebrity's opinion means more. Everyone else's opinion means more than what your actual body needs from you. And it's been at the cost, like I've said. And oh my gosh, I am currently healing from the cost. So I can definitely vouch for this. I am healing from the cost. I can't even remember how to say it. Remember how to say the word. Antilotheus, I think it's called. I have antilope. I'm probably saying this wrong. It's in my lower back. Part of my vertebrae in my lower back has slipped out of place because back in 2020, and I think I told this story, back in 2020, I was dealing with a binge eating disorder and I was diagnosed with a binge eating disorder. So I went on medication to suppress my appetite. And I'm not going to say the name of it because I'm not going to promote it. It was so strong, right? That's the first thing. And I was so tired, but I couldn't sleep. It was definitely a tough month, right? And I ended up putting all the weight back on that I lost anyway. But during that time as well, I was working out consistently. I had set up a very small gym in the garage and I was just working out every day, pumping 3 hours in there. I would keep going. And I did yoga thinking that that was going to protect me. So stretching the body was going to protect me. But no, and I kept going. And my mentality at that time wasn't in my body or the actual care of my body. My mentality was when I show up to society, I have to show up to society thin. I have to show up to society.
Mm,
I have to show up to society in the way that I feel like I'm going to be accepted, the way that I feel like I need to look to be seen as beautiful and to feel confident and to feel happy. My mentality was warped in everyone else's perception of me. I disregarded all the years, my entire life, that my health has been on an absolute roller coaster because I've been sick since I was basically a baby. But I disregarded everything that had brought me to this moment and cared more about what society thought and what everyone else thinks because everyone just thinks they can freely comment, right? I did that for months, mind you, months until I got really sick. My lower back was killing me. And it was like an L shape with my lower
mm,
back. My backside was sticking out a lot more and I was so curved up that my front body was so out and my back was so curved inwards. And the pain was just unbearable at times. I couldn't even sleep because I was like feeling it on the upper chest area because it knocks you out of place. Obviously, your breathing, it
yeah,
affects your breathing as well.
mhm,
It's like when you have stomach issues, it affects your breathing,
yeah,
right? So I wasn't breathing properly as well, pain, and I was sent to a chiropractor, but I don't even remember receiving a diagnosis fully at that point, right?
mm,
So I was seeing a chiropractor, but nothing was getting better. It was getting worse essentially. And I was in a lot of pain too. The machines that were put on my lower back, I think that's right. I only went for lower back pain, not actually for
mm,
what it really was, right? So in 2022, I think it was, is when I got the diagnosis and I was told, let me think actually, now that I think of the timeline, I got the x ray done. No, 2023 actually. No, because I got my lung done and my lower back done. That's right. Sorry, scrape that. Such a mumble jumbled because it's between the the x-ray for your lung and then the x-ray
yeah,
for your lower back. The timelining this is just it's difficult. I think it was 2023. I think it was last year that I fully found out that there is a small slip in my vertebrae at the lower back area.
mhm,
And I have scoliosis as well now. Thoracic
yeah,
scoliosis. My spine is misalignment. So I have pain from the front of my neck, top of my neck, all the way down to my lower back. And even now I can feel it because it affects my shoulders, it affects my chest. When you're out of alignment, it affects your body substantially and you feel it. I have to do yoga almost every day and stretch my body to have relief and see an osteopath. There's things I have to do now to bring it back to alignment, but just to heal it, right? Until I thought to myself, am I actually making decisions for me and not for everyone else that is saying to me, oh, you're losing weight. That's great. Oh, you're going to the gym. That's great. Not how's your health going? There's no questions about that. It's just, oh, you're losing weight. That's great. Oh, you're, putting more effort into how you look. That's great. Just the comments that
mm,
are always revolved around how you look. It is
mhm,
always how you look. It's not how's your health going? How's your lungs going? I mean, people think who would even ask that question? Well, if you care about human beings, when you ask, how's your health going? How's it feeling? How are you feeling? Those are the kind of questions that I find are a bit more deeper into humane than consistently hyper focusing on how someone looks and their weight and if they've lost weight or if they are losing weight, because I swear if someone actually said, how's your weight going? And if I was honest and I gave them the full storyline from the start to the end, they would absolutely zonk out, meaning like they
Yeah.
would switch off. They wouldn't want to hear it. All they
Yeah.
want to hear is, oh yeah, I'm hitting the gym and I'm eating right. And that's it. That's all it takes, right? That's all it
Right.
takes.
Definitely has. I've heard quite a few times, and this is something that definitely triggers me when I hear it, is
Mm,
the whole assumption that people who look a certain way are lazy. And
mm,
that triggers me to the core because of
yeah.
everything that you just said. And there are so many people who experience the same thing. Like, you get to the point where you obsess so much about how you look, quote unquote,
Mm,
that you're actually in the exercises that you can do, the things that you're doing can actually harm your body so much more. And it triggers me so much because, like you said, in your own experience, you can work out with the goal of, I'm going to lose this weight. And I've been there myself, where it's like, I'm going to lose
mm,
this weight at all costs. I'm going to get to this image that I have in my mind of what I deem worthy in society, or what society deems worthy about me. And the thing that really hit me was when you said placing other people. I can't remember what you said specifically, but you said something along the lines of placing other people's opinions for the sake of their approval, for the sake of their yes and their admiration of you over your own health. And I was like, yes, it's because the world wants to make you think that they own your body, especially as a
mm-hmm.
woman. If you are
Yeah.
not worthy in the eyes of society, then your worth as a woman is down here. And that is
Mm-hmm.
just simply not the truth. In reality, that's not the truth, but it's what
Oh yeah.
society, diet, media, men oftentimes who have unhealthy relationships with a lot of different things, like to spew out. And even women too, who have internalized it, like, oh well, you look so much better when you're thinner, or in this outfit, or she shouldn't be wearing that, looking like, none of
Yes.
that is actually based on that person's health or how they
That's right.
feel or what is good for that person. And having that type of
Mm-hmm.
mentality where you think health looks a certain way completely and utterly eradicates the actual health of that person, even yourself. And it drives
Mm-hmm.
me insane. It absolutely drives me insane because that person,
Mm-hmm.
even in the course that I took, in the classes that I took, there is like this, because it reminds me of what you said earlier, seeing a video of a guy asking the height and the weight of what women want to be, um, is so immature, first of all. But also,
Mm-hmm.
even in the classes that I took, they were like, there's a BMI, body mass index, determining what your height is and what the weight should, quote unquote, be. But even in the textbooks, it says it is not accurate. There is no way that you can mass produce a product or a thing to tell the health of a person based on their physical look alone, not on their body mass index, not fat index, none of that. It does not
Mm-hmm.
articulate the full picture of a person's body health well-being at all. And it says that use it sparingly because it's not accurate with many different people. And I'm like, so this is within the community, and yet we still see so much toxicity coming out of the community. Just with the whole, we got to work out, we got to go, to the point where we sell diet pills and diet culture is a thing. And it's just, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. It makes me so
Slim
angry.
tea 101.
Oh my gosh.
That was such a major thing when I was at my
Yeah.
last retail job. Everyone was talking about it. I think I was like 2019 at the time. Slim tea was such a big thing, sold massively in that retail job that I had. And I thought to myself, oh, yeah, I could definitely try that. And I think I did try something at one point, some drink. I tried a lot of things, a lot of different diets that I'm not going to name. But it's funny because when you come out of those diets, the way that your body responds to it afterwards, when I think back to those moments, it knew better than
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
because the response to that is, what you didn't give me, I am going to amp up and you're going to give me, because I'm going
Yeah.
to also make sure that your mind is aligned with that. You know, it's massively, our bodies are massively just underrated, just how powerful it is to really bring you into this space of, you've just not, you haven't given me anything, no nutrients, no nothing. You've just taken so much from me. I'm going to make sure you give it back. And essentially, just to say this as well, I think that the connection to that for me was a binge eating disorder in a lot of sense, as well as mostly mental health and coping emotionally, which is also too something that society doesn't incorporate in these conversations, is how, and you said it too, Nina, how much mental health plays a major role in
Mhm.
our physical health and our physical body. And even now they're talking more about how trauma affects the body, you know,
Yes.
even in spirituality. And I believe this, they talk about how certain places where you hold weight, like the arms, they talk about the arms. When someone holds a lot of weight in their arms, it's a sign of protection. It's a sign of comfort for self, protect self. It's a shield from the outside world, from society. There are so many spiritual and emotional connections to the body that to say that everything is physical is such an invalidation of the many, many pathways out there that lead us to where we are health wise, you know? And having a binge eating disorder, anyone that has it and anyone that's gone through eating disorders, at the end of the day, it is physical health as well. It can be gut health too. Yeah. With mental health, it definitely can be your physical health that can relate to depression and anxiety, because anxiety can hold itself at your gut, you know, and it's in even your chest too, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, just how powerful it was, even for me, when I'm in a really traumatic state, because I have been diagnosed with complex PTSD, depression, anxiety, social anxiety, body dysmorphic disorder, and I was diagnosed with a binge eating disorder. Not having anyone to help me cope, not knowing anything, growing up within this mindset of trying to find ways to cope. Because this is the one thing people do as well. If you have no way to cope, it's like unconsciously you find ways. That's how addiction also comes into this conversation, right? So at one point in my life, which is no longer a reality, food became a part of that. It was a comfort, and it was the only comfort that was, it was the only reality that was prevalent. It was something that was easy, accessible, and it's all I knew. Again, that connects to something else that within my knowledge, that's all I had, right?
Yeah.
How many connections are there? There's so many. That's why it's just so invalidating for people to box health. You can't box health. There's so many things to it. So figuring it out mentally and healing and being on the healing journey, I started to release the attachment to food in thinking that it was something that was going to bring me to some sort of comfort level enough to feel grounded. And it didn't. It didn't, because I always needed more. You know, it never ended, you know? The connection that I made with my mental health and a binge eating disorder was the one thing that really eradicated that out of me, out of my coping mechanism. So I no longer have that anymore. But for people on the outside that see someone that is going through something, or their body is in a certain way and they have something like a binge eating disorder or anorexia, you know, any kind of eating disorder, they have this very quick image and narrative that they create in their minds that see it as one thing and one thing only, and that's just it. And this is the thing too, just I've said this so many times. It's funny that human beings do this, but when it comes to their own life, I highly doubt that their own life unfolds into a one box image. I highly doubt that their pain and their own situations have unfolded in one version. I bet you that they want to be understood too in many different ways, but then they go and create
Yeah.
1 narrative for someone that they're seeing in front of them. There are many pathways, people. There are many connections. My mind finds it hard to communicate this sometimes because I can't even fathom. Sometimes my mind is running at 200 kilometers an hour, thinking of all the different pathways that unfold from this, but I just can't say it. That's why I muck up my words so much because I want to say it. But it's like I can't find the words to explain how many different pathways I know of that
Mhm.
exist. When I see a human being, I don't just see the human being. If they tell me their story, I can see many different pathways that have led them to maybe a particular trait or a particular behavior. That's why I don't judge because I don't see the
Yeah,
point of it. Someone that has an addiction to me, there are so many pathways as to how that came to,
right.
how that happened.
Yeah.
So many.
Oh my
And what
gosh.
little branches fed that. Same
Yes.
with a binge eating disorder. So many little branches that fed that.
Right.
And it's not just about, look, you can't meet it with, oh, just work out. You can't meet a binge eating disorder with that.
Yeah.
You can't. Because even me, just to say this, even if you meet someone that's going through a binge eating disorder, right? And you say to them, okay, well, Ashley dealt with it mentally. You need to deal with it mentally. You don't know. Neither do I know. What if we can't deal with it mentally with them? What if it's something else?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm saying what I'm saying, right? But that doesn't mean that it's everyone who has a binge eating disorder, okay? There are so many different pathways. That's why you can't walk up to someone and say, go to the gym, eat
Mm,
better,
yeah,
because you have no idea if that is all you can come up with. Do some
absolutely.
research, maybe. Talk to people. Educate yourself by talking to people, truly,
Yeah.
because they'll tell you a lot. That's how I've learned as well. I learned more from human beings than my own studies.
Yeah.
Talk to people if they're willing to tell you.
I think also just what you said is just so amazing. You are incredible. Something that I really wanted to do after my studies was over was build an environment where things would be reached in a more holistic way, where you incorporate mind, body, soul, and then
Mm,
create some kind of plan to create a healthier lifestyle. Um,
yeah.
and thinking on this now, like I changed my course in life, but I still feel like that goal to create that for other people is kind of what I'm going through right now in my own journey. And I feel like it's the same
Mm,
with you. You know, it's like we are healing ourselves and thus are healing hopefully many more people through our stories, through our own experiences. And no matter how it unfolds, like you said, there are so many different avenues in which this spreads. Because, like you said, when people go through hardships, they would want understanding. And yet they look at things in other people and put it in a box and define it and keep it where it is and don't really unpack it and really get down to the nitty gritty. And it's because they themselves are not looking at themselves and really dissecting where it's coming from. You want compassion, you want people to be understanding, but are you
mm,
giving that? And if you're not, and if it's something that you're seeking, you must ask yourself, are you giving that to yourself in your
mm,
circumstances? Because something that I've learned, I was an emotional eater. And the thing that like really, really affected me at the time were things that were outside of my control. And as I was emotionally eating, I started gaining weight. And then at school, supposed friends would come to me and be like, oh, you look a little bit different. I'm like, what's happened? And when you're already dealing with so much in your personal life that you feel like you have no way to reach out or talk to anybody about, food becomes your safe haven because it makes you feel good.
mhm,
It makes you feel happy, not only emotionally speaking, but that's legit what the brain receptor does when it eats food. It's like a ping, you get happy.
yeah.
It's a response in the body. It's a natural response. And so when I started getting comments, I started again being very self-conscious and just being like, okay, I need to do something about this. And it opened me up to the very toxic habits and lifestyles of diet culture, and I started taking. I did research online as a 15-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, um, and the fact that it's so young, it blows my mind. But also, I started doing research, and I heard people talk about this like diet pill and whatever, and so I took it. And when I got it, I was really apprehensive because I was like, I don't know, this looks a little bit sus, but I want to lose weight. That was my goal. I really wanted to lose weight. So I looked at the instructions. Ashley, you would not believe it said to take 4 pills each time, like 3 times a day. And I was like, but each time before a meal. And I was like, 4 pills? That's a bit excessive. Like, I feel like you shouldn't even do that within a whole day. and, um, and I felt really off about it. So I was like, let me take two. Let me take two one time a day. And so that's what I did. And then eventually I didn't really see any results because in teenage brain where I was, it's like, okay, well, I'm supposed to be just losing it really fast. And what it's supposed to do, or what it was supposed to do, was suppress your hunger. Um, so I continued this for I think like 3 days. On the second day, I amped it up. I was like, okay, let me take two per meal. I only eat 2 times a day, so I only took 4 in total that day instead of 6 or 8 as prescribed. And what it ended up doing on the third day is give me such intense stomach pain that it would legitimately bring me to my knees. And I was like,
Mm.
and in my mind, I was like, but I have to take those pills because I have to lose this weight. I was concerned, but I was like, I have to lose this weight. This is the only way how. And this kind of got me down the line when I stopped. I stopped after the third day because I was like, I couldn't take the pain. I wasn't able to eat at all anymore because I was constantly full. And I was like, there's something wrong with me. And I wanted to go to a doctor, but I was so afraid of the judgment in that as well. And it ended up as I was starting to recover from whatever it was that I was going through, from the after effects of this diet pill that was extremely toxic, that I developed gut issues and allergies that I never had before. It took me
Mm.
over a year to learn how to eat properly again after that. And even to this day, I have like random sudden allergies pop up that I've never had before. Just all of a sudden, I can eat something a whole week, excessive, but the same thing a whole week, I'll be fine. But the next week, I'll have an allergy to it. And that comes from that time. And I know that because that's where it developed. And I say
Mm.
this to say that, especially young teenage girls, or not even going to say teenage, because I feel like it affects even younger girls than that. It's specifically targeted to women, this diet culture. It affects men, absolutely, and there's absolutely 1,000% validity in that, but it is targeted towards women. And this is
Mhm.
because the world wants to make you believe that they own your body and thus have a say so in how you treat it and what you do with it. And this is the fundamental issue that I'm having is how can we actually create more space for the validity of everybody's body, whether you're disabled,
Mhm.
whether you depression. And speaking of on depression for a second, when you are depressed at a certain stage of your depression, working out can actually make that worse. I don't think people talk about that. If you're in a very deep state of depression, you work out, that depression will circle you down in a deeper drain than you were before. And the reason for that is funny because it was never given in school as to why. And I'm like, so you tell us this as we're learning to become coaches and treat people who have mental health or medical problems and how to make them healthy and how to make them better. In school, I'm learning this, but you can't tell me why when you work out depression makes everything worse. The depression gets worse. That was really suspect to me, and I was like, maybe that it is because that actually delves into psychology. Rather than
Mm.
just the body, now it delves into psychology. And I'm like, okay, well, if psychology is involved and we have certain behaviors and mentalities that can get significantly worse while working out, then why is that not incorporated in a mass system? Right. And especially in the States, from living there for such a long time, when you go to a fitness center, a gym, whatever you want to call it, it's like you just get a coach, you get a trainer, you sign up, you get a trainer, and then you go, right? Sometimes they do assessment tests to see where you're at, but that's also only on a physical scale. And in my class, they
Mm,
always taught you be sure to check in with their doctors if they have pre existing conditions. And I'm like, knowing what the medical system can be like and how invalidated you can be, especially as a woman in this society, we just have to take the pain. Just like you were not privy to what was going on with your back until last year, 2023. That is something
mhm,
that doctors held you in. And so you're telling a trainer who has limited, sometimes limited knowledge, because it's a system. It's like McDonald's. They want to pump out trainers, they want to get you out there. There are experienced trainers in gyms, but there are also the newbies. So you have a person with a
mm,
precondition come in, get trained by somebody who has limited knowledge, with a doctor who has limited knowledge, and then
mhm,
somehow that person is supposed to look healthy, when in actuality you can make that person a lot worse than they were before. And this is a
mhm,
problem that I've experienced in my own life when it comes to being treated a certain type of way in the medical field when I've gone in for problems in my life. And I was just treated with, well, that's normal. Like, just here's some medicine, take this pill, take that pill, and essentially get away from me. And when that pill doesn't work and you're like, hey, I still have this issue, they run of maybe a few more tests, but they're like, the vitals are fine though. Excuse me, but my body is not defined by numbers on a paper, the same way
mm,
that your body, your health is not defined by the number on a
mhm,
scale or a BMI or any number for that matter, because I feel like a lot of people these days base their worth on their numbers, whether it be subscribers online, their weight, their BMI, the numbers on a test that the doctor gave you through blood tests. And it's like there are underlying issues. And this, like you said, just to go back to everything, it runs through every single facet of our lives in many different
yeah,
directions. And it's actually when I started healing spiritually that I was able to undo the emotional eating, because I
mhm,
realized it came from trauma, and that trauma came from somewhere. And once I started dealing with that, that is when the emotional eating calmed down bit by bit. And now I don't have that anymore.
mm,
And so health encompasses so much more than just the visual. And it really it drives me insane how much people place value on the things that they see with their eyes rather than the actual internal experience of life.
mm. Mic drop.
Yes, I got real deep because I'm
You
very
have
passionate
to.
about.
You have to, my friend, with the way that the systematic structures have been, it's completely invalidating to anything
Yeah,
human,
yeah,
reality sense.
yeah.
You're talking about trauma, right? Even trauma, how in
Yes.
depth that goes to change your entire psychology. And I have to say this so sternly about how serious trauma actually is to make you think that addiction is the only way, that
Mm,
food is the only way. People really like grasping the mind's power. I don't think any of us can actually fully do it. Even in spirituality, we hear about how powerful our minds are,
yeah.
right? To me personally, I don't think any research on the planet could ever fully dictate how powerful our mind is,
Yes.
right? Going through growing up in a very unsafe household as a child, right? How do you think that's going to affect the development of that child? If there's no safety, there's no communication, there's no human structures within that environment that makes them feel validated, heard, seen, even human in a lot of ways. How do you think that's going to affect their development to teenagehood?
Mm,
They live their life through what they know, right? Which then just brings on potentially more trauma, more issues, their communication style, their nervous system, how they
yes.
react, how they respond, fight, flight. the entire list of things that can fall into more branches, more categories. A teenager falls into an eating disorder, and then that's more branches from that has created that. How confusing does this sound? Because it is confusing. And it is so much. You're looking at a client and you're thinking, oh, they can just work out. I'll put them on this meal plan and then they can just have this kind of schedule and that's it. You could be dealing with a client that has 30 years of trauma stored in their body. And hey, truth be told, they could probably lose that weight, but the underlying issues, what happens to them? Especially as women, we store around our hips, trauma stores around our hips. We're more prone to autoimmune diseases because of the generational crap that has been passed down, right? Certain cultural backgrounds as well. So many other things too, right? That affects the way our bodies evolve through society. Does trainers put that into the equation too? Can you really? Can you really? Even as a counselor, can I really put all of these factors into one? Even if I had a client, could I really expand these branches enough to really be able to validate them entirely? It is truly difficult sometimes. Like I said before, to comprehend it myself in my own mind is I know and I'm aware more than ever, but sometimes I can't even say it because it's so much. There's so much up there of just how in depth this all goes, where people just look at an image, like in a movie, they look at the movie, they see just that. But then behind the scenes, the characters, there's a bigger metaphor to it. There's a bigger meaning behind it potentially. There's more behind the scene. But then that's the thing, is that there's more behind that scene and that scene and that scene, which is why health has no look to it. It can never have a look to it. Health will never have an image. Health will be the inside. And it should always be the inside because none of the less, and there's been so much evidence out there, when it comes to things coming up in your skin, it's because of what's going on inside. Your eyes show what's going on inside. When you have liver issues, your eyes go yellow. There's proof enough that what is showing on the outside is something that's going on the inside. So shouldn't that be the major thing that we focus on? What's happening on the inside? How's your mental health? How's your liver? How's your kidneys? How's your pancreas? Like a woman's cycle, 28 to 29 days, depending on the individual, right? That's a major thing that affects us as women. Major. There's irregularities, there's cramps, PCOS, gut issues as well that just make things worse. There's a full list of things that correspond to that. Can you really validate the image that you're painting upon someone that you see and you think, oh, well, you just make the assumption about their health? Can you really paint that picture and create that look and say this is what health looks like? The human body has so many fluctuations and so many pathways to it. Anything that I see online that depicts, like in that video that I talked about, that entire conversation to me, it's such a, what's the word, the proper word that I could use for this? It's such a degrading conversation.
Yes.
It is. It's degrading.
Yeah.
It's degrading to yourself. It's degrading to your body. It's degrading to you. It is. Point blank, because only you live in your body. Only you feel the pain that it feels. Only you go through the conditions that you go through. Not them. The person that is speaking this way towards you about your body, they will never feel what it is to be you. They will never go through what you go through. The amount of times I've told myself that if someone calls me fat, which has happened, right? That person has no idea what's evolved through my life for my body to be in this current position, and they have no idea what's currently unfolding. And you know what? They don't care to because they have their image, they have their narrative. Great, keep it. And Bob the Builder may be able to fix it, he may not. But at the end of the day, that person's opinion, that person's opinion is so, it's nothing. It is nothing compared to what I've gone through and what my body has gone through. It will never amount to the unfolding of this experience, the unfolding of pain, PCOS sufferers, the pain that you feel. A comment like that will never amount to what it feels like for you to go through what you go through. Someone that's experiencing kidney issues, liver function, even people with binge eating disorders in general, those comments will never amount to what you go through. The pain that you experience, the mental toll that it takes, the healing that you have to do. These comments will never validate that at all. So to live our lives in line with anything that these people say out of a reflection of their own knowledge and awareness, it's just so invalidating to you. It's invalidating to your body. It's invalidating to your experience. And it's not a fault either. I'm not placing this as a fault on you because, hey, I learned from somewhere, right? It's not about a fault, but it is about advocating for you.
Absolutely.
Because while we're seeking validation from everyone else in a lot of ways, only you can fully give yourself what you truly need and what your body truly needs. Only you can.
Wow, perfectly said. And I also just want to chime in and say that healing, whether it is mentally, physically, emotionally, all of it doesn't just come in one certain way, you know? And
Mm,
in my experience, just to share a little bit of kind of the things that I've been healing through, several years ago, I had to take very hard medication that ended up ruining my liver. No, my
mm,
kidneys. I apologize, my kidneys. And my body released it in the sense of back pain, upper back pain, shoulder pain. And so I went
yeah.
to the doctor because the pain, you know, I have shoulder pain, I have back pain, I know what that feels like, but the pain was, it was like an internal throb and it was growing and it was becoming hard to breathe. It was that type of pain. And I'm like, this is not normal. So I go to a doctor and they're like, oh, let me just check your spine. And they check my spine, they press down on it, everything is fine. It's like, oh, I'm sure you just pulled a muscle, you know, like relax a little bit. Here's a shot for your back. So I got that done, I think like 3 times a month for several months. And I was like, this pain is not
Mm,
getting worse. It would numb it for a couple hours, but then it would come back and it would come back with a vengeance. And literally to the point where I could not breathe. And I was like, there has to be something wrong here. But everybody was just looking at me like, it's fine, you know, you'll be okay. It just takes a few times, you know, maybe get a massage. And so finally, I think 4 months later, I get a blood test done, and it turns out that my levels, my kidney levels were so high that I was going into kidney failure. And I was like, with all the symptoms that I exuded, aside from the back pain, that is something any doctor, because I went to multiple, should have picked up on. And yet
mm,
everybody was telling me I was fine. And so
yeah.
healing, unfortunately, and it breaks my heart, does not always come from the people that we place that responsibility on in finding what's wrong in us. We
Mm-hmm.
have to find what's wrong with us. And we have to
Exactly.
go to the people that are willing and able to hear us and not just push it
Mm,
aside. Oh, it's just, it's normal. It's no, because just this morning, I opened up TikTok and there was this news that a popular beauty YouTuber had died, had passed away from, I think, cervical cancer. That's what it was.
yeah.
And years prior, months prior, she went to the doctor because her husband found her unresponsive, lying in the bathroom floor. She went to the doctor, she got tests done. She went to gyno. They were like, "Oh, it's just fibrosis. It's nothing. It's fine. It's typical. It's part of being a woman. Every woman has it." But she had more bleeding than usual. And now she has passed away, unfortunately, and rest her soul. And it's just it affects me. It makes me emotional because I'm like, why are we in a position where we have to fight people in order to be heard? It should be a given. If somebody is in pain, even if you don't know what it is, do the research. If you're in the position where you're capable of reaching out to people, or you have, knowledge in other fields, or know what to do, at least put in the effort, and don't just put a sticker over it, a band-aid over it, and be like, here's some pills, here's a shot, here's whatever. Be on your way. And the thing that it involved to with me personally is that I kept having experiences with pains and various issues in my body. And what it ended up turning into was that I needed a psychologist. I think you need to see somebody. AKA, I think you're crazy, you're making this up, and you're holding on to the pain for attention. And that I sometimes I just block it out of my brain because it's so, my own brain cannot comprehend comments like that. I see Ashley's face; she's just holding it in. But and a psychologist is great. I think if you're able to see it and have kind of a team of experts helping you figure out and navigate healing, fantastic. If you're capable of doing that, perfect. But even that might not give you the answer that you need. So I say this to say healing is not linear and does not look the way that we are prescribed it by or to. That you go to a doctor and they'll figure it out. No, you have to make sure that you're okay. And the only way you know is by how your body feels. Sometimes we can't even know that. Sometimes things just hit us, and that's fine. But there are more than one way. There is more than one way to healing. And there's a holistic approach, which I am definitely veering
Mm.
into, and am very, just to say this, the thing that healed my kidneys was tea, holistic tea. It wasn't a shot, it wasn't medication, it was tea. And
Mhm.
this ended up being a very big topic in general in my life, where certain herbs ended up healing things that have been long standing in my health. Um,
Yeah.
and made me come out on top, whereas medication, there's a word for it, that what I'm looking for, but it's not coming to mind. Either way, medication makes you dependent on more medication, and your body just, there's a limit to that, and you can become
Mm.
resistant to actual medicine when it gets to the point where you actually may need it one day. You can become
Yeah.
resistant to antibiotics, and that causes a whole other issue that we have in society right now. But that aside, healing is not linear, and make sure that you listen to your body when something is not right, and don't take no for an answer. Do whatever you can, go wherever you need to go, but make sure that you're heard, because too many times are we being dismissed for our pain, and it is not okay. You deserve to
Mhm.
feel good in your body. Mic drop.
When Nina told me what had occurred on her end, the rage within was compelled, truly. And even just hearing you, I am angry for you, to be honest, especially knowing what's unfolded the last few years.
Yeah.
It enraged to hear it. And I'm, no. It was enraging. It was incredibly invalidating. And that's just the thing. It's the human side of thinking no one deserves to be invalidated by something that is not a choice. Even if it is a choice, how to navigate that is a different version, but this wasn't a choice. So to be invalidated by that is, I don't understand how you choose to be in a practice with human beings and you choose to do anything but be a human in the term of helping human beings. I just can't. I could never fathom becoming a counselor if that's what I had chosen to be and just completely invalidating my clients and their experiences, making them feel worse about themselves and just adding to the harm that is already so present in our society. I can't even freaking fathom that. And I don't understand how other human beings could do it. I have an idea. I definitely have ideas why they do. But all in all, when you work with other human beings, I know it can be difficult, but you're there for a reason. That's one thing I wanted to say.
Yeah.
But the other thing too, you're talking about medication and stuff like that too. You know, I came across a photo the other day when I was looking at photos of my teenage self, right? When you're an asthmatic, you get put on certain steroids like prednisolone.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you may know what that is. It's a very relevant medication you get put on, especially during asthma attacks when you go to hospital. Prednisolone. Through my life, I was allergic to penicillin, so not really penicillin. Prednisolone, Symbicort, steroids, antibiotics were a major cycle. And I said to you all before that I was very sick. I've been dealing with physical health issues since I was a child, and I meant it. Severe asthma was a big thing when I was a kid, in and out of the Royal Children's Hospital for majority of my childhood. It was like my second home, and everyone called it that, and I had no issues with that because the Royal Children's Hospital, if you were to see it, Nina, it literally the way they've created it, obviously, is to take away the sad element of it in a way. So look, I wasn't fully complaining all the time, you know, but it was my second home. So consistent amounts of medication over the years and being bedridden too. Because as an asthmatic, you're going to get up and just cardio it down the hallway and walk it down the hallway. No, I'd be bedridden for weeks.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it was days, but a lot of the times it was weeks, even months. I'd be recovering. You know, it'd take time as it needed to, right? And I'm pretty sure that all those years created physical health issues. You know, stilted the development. I'm very certain that it is the reason why I'm healing so much today. But over those years, when I saw photos of my teenage stuff, because I was still on Symbicort and a few other things as well, and Ventolin, I saw this photo and I thought, wow, my face was incredibly like bloated. It was so round. I saw so many photos of myself like that as a teenager, right? And I remember back then people would comment on my weight. And I'm sitting there and I'm putting two and two together and I thought, wow. That's how you know how bad it is when the adults know that you have been dealing with a lot of sickness and physical health issues and all they see is your weight. So in their mind, there's no correspondence to, oh, she's been in and out of hospital. She's been in and out of hospital since she was a child. She's on all this medication. That plays a major part in why there's fluctuations, because it did. I didn't have a binge eating disorder until my 20s. Let me put that out there too. Early 20s. 20, I believe it's when it started fully. Right? So in my teenage years, food wasn't that just yet. But the medication I was on was incredibly fluctuant in my health. Right? But no one would have depicted that, would they? No way. They would immediately go straight to how I look, which just proves how indebted or embedded, what's the right word? How embedded the perception of looks is to completely invalidate that my teenage self and my child self were trying to cope with a sickness that felt never ending, as well as just consistent shifts of medication and how many puffs you should take, the fluctuations on that. In and out of hospital, antibiotics. The body didn't get a break, people. Child body doesn't get a break. Teenage body doesn't get a break. What do you think that really does? I totally get I totally understand where my body is right now, because it didn't actually have a moment to fully come to strength in immune system and lungs. I got sick so easily from eating certain foods, being outside, allergic to so much, cut grass, dust mites, dust. You know, I was allergic to a lot of food, dairy, gluten, couldn't have bread, cheese, had to drink soy milk, and that was nasty. For Easter, I got these soy Easter eggs, and I was
Oh,
so grateful that people still incorporated me into it, right? But they were nasty. The hollow ones, my friends, they were. I can taste it right now, right? But my family used to give this bunny, and I loved that. It was an acquired taste, but I did love that, right? Because they still incorporated, which I'm very grateful for. But I was allergic to so much. All of that played, and I believe it, a massive part into where I am today. Even the binge eating too, missing out on eating certain foods that everyone else did for a long time. You would start to get to a point of thinking, I've missed out on so much, I want to try everything. So I think that was also incorporated into it as well.
yeah.
But the whole point of this entire conversation is medication that you take. Even before I went on the, like Nina, the holistic health journey, I have what's it called? What's the high thyroid thing again? Hydrothyroid, or is it
Overactive?
hyperthyroid? There's two. There's hyperthyroid and
Um,
hydrothyroid. One means higher and one means lower. And I keep getting confused which is which. I think it's hyperthyroid, maybe. So, hold on. I keep getting so confused. And underactive is hyperthyroidism. I've been dealing with hyperthyroidism for a few years now, and I was given medication for it. And the medication didn't remove the issue at all. It did bring it down to a certain level, but when I got off the medication, it just rose right back up again.
mm,
And I never could find out the exact issue to that, but the medication just left me again in certain states where my neck would swell. And I still have that issue because I have an enlargement of my thymus gland right now. My neck swells up. My face swells up like a balloon. You know, there are certain things that unfold from the physical health issues in the now, which is what I'm saying, that change my physical reality because so much is happening within.
mm,
What do you expect that's going to happen in the physical aspect of things when there's so much happening on the inside and your body is trying to cope? And then it shows on the outside, and then you have a society that doesn't understand, that doesn't get it, doesn't want to get it because it's so hyped up on hierarchy and it's so hyped up on perception, and that's all it cares about, not the actual human being, that it completely invalidates.
yeah.
And people may say, why does it have to validate what you've been through? If you're going to have a say about my body, you better be willing to hear the story.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a say about my body, sit down because you're going to hear a story. Otherwise, don't comment. But you will, right? Because you think that that fulfills you in whatever way, possible form and shape. One way or another, everyone will experience some invalidation, right? The people that project this way 100% have experienced invalidation that has hurt them one way or another. You're just continuing that for those that do this. You're just continuing that. And where you feel the hurt of the invalidation that you've received, you're just giving it out there for it to then come back to you in a different way. You continue the cycle.
Yeah.
Just to put that out there as well. But my current health issues are a great example of the changing of physical health to then how society responds to that change. And I've seen it. I went from a certain weight, and then when my health got really bad, because last year I got pneumonia in my left lung. My left lung is where my asthma's really just stayed. My left lung has been my weakest. So where did the pneumonia go? Right there.
Mm,
That lasted it happened in the end of April. Didn't go away till September. And do you know what else I got after that, people, friends? Right? I got bronchiolitis in the same lung. And I can't remember how to say it, but starts with A. But it's basically where your lung kind of collapses. Not fully, because then I would have been in hospital, but it kind of collapses. I couldn't walk because I couldn't breathe at all if I did. That lasted until the end of the year. And I'm still healing from that, right? So all this weight was put on my body from me building it, trying to build it up. A lot of things have weakened now. The physical changes I've noticed, and I know it's there, and it's been a massive toll on me because obviously it messes with you mentally because you still have society's illusions within you, and you also hold on to that yourself. I'm still working through that, but those issues are still prevalent in my reality, and they have been the thing that has really shifted my physical appearance. But would society even care about that? Would people even care about that? No. Even if I were to say to them, I see an osteopath, I see a homeopathic doctor, I still see my GP, I get my MRIs and my x-rays done, I'm putting in the effort, I do yoga, I do breath work. I have been healing non-stop for so many years now, mentally, and now it's more physically, right? Do you think they'd care? Do you think they would sit there and listen to that story?
No.
The projective ones, or the people that want to continue narratives? No. It's easy to say you're big and you're ugly and you're this and you're that. It's easy to do that. It's difficult to sit down and actually hear the story of that person, to hear what that person has been through, to validate their experience, to hear their trauma.
Yeah.
No. Very difficult for people. So my whole point, to land my plane at the right airport, is that being an example of that with what my body has been through. My body, I'm going to speak for my body and advocate for it, for all the years that it has suffered, for all the years that it has tried and pushed, right? For all those years, I validate where it currently is, no matter how I look. And saying that too, I still have my days where I think to myself, I am unworthy because of my weight. I am ugly because of my weight. I am this. I'm terrified of what society is going to project. I still have my moments of that, but I know that my body deserves my patience and deserves me to advocate for it. And it deserves me to speak up for it, for me to do what I can for it, and to focus solely, all of my focus on my health and not what any Tom, Dick, Harry, Jerry fruit basket says. Because they will never, like I said before, they will never be able to help me heal, and they don't care to. Otherwise, you wouldn't make the comments in the first place the way that you do if you truly care about people, right? I will always advocate for myself, always, because my body deserves that. And so does yours, with everything that you've been through in your lives. You deserve it, and your body deserves it. It is the one thing that carries you. It will be carrying you for the rest of your life. And then you will leave it on the ground. You will leave it here, and your soul will depart, if that is what you believe, right? But essentially, your body stays here. It is what you have. You will wake up every day with it. You will go to bed with it. You walk because of it. Even some people have survived the most, serious accidents, and their body has survived that. But even so, their body has healed. With those that have lost limbs, their body has found a way because they've gone through physical therapy and the body has pushed through. The body it works in so many wonders.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And I know there's many pathways to me saying this. And I know many people have stories, okay? I can't validate everything in one in terms of speaking it all out there, right? I validate it even if I don't fully know it or I'm not fully aware of it, right? But at the end of the day, one body that we have that deserves our love and our support. And with love for self, just to touch on this quickly, that is the ultimate proof why love for self is so important. Not self-love, love for self, because your body
Mm.
deserves it for what it does every day, what it strives through, what it puts up with in a lot of ways too, you know, what it heals. You get cut and it heals you. It deserves it. So, like I'm saying, and I'm going to say it again because I need to say it. No comment, no degrading, inhumane comment about your body will ever be able to amount to the reality that it is yours and yours alone.
It's beautiful. Your body is, we said this in the beginning of the episode, your body is a vehicle for your soul, but the more well common known saying is your body is your temple. And you wouldn't let anybody with dirty shoes come in and walk all over it. So don't let some outside person who has no respect for you, your journey, your body, doesn't know you in any capacity, tell you how to feel about your body, tell you how to feel about yourself, because the human body is so beautiful. And we as a whole society, have neglected the body immensely.
Yes.
And so to make that journey to go inward and to go look and discover and heal and try to find out what it needs rather than what we wanted to do, what we wanted to have and be. And
yes,
aside from all of that, that courage is beyond this world, and your body will thank you for that, for this lifetime and throughout all your journeys in your life. Because like Ashley said, your body is here for a reason. It is there to support you. It is your friend. It is not your enemy, and it simply wants to be heard. And to all of you guys out there listening to this who have resonated, or people who are just on the starting point of this journey, I give my love and my affection to you guys. Good energies going to you guys, because it is not always the easiest journey. It can have a lot of pitfalls, but it is so worth it. And you are so worth it. And Ashley, you are beautiful. You're stunning. Your body's beautiful. Your body's stunning. I am beautiful. My body's stunning. And so are all of your listeners, because life is hard enough as it is. So let's be our own best friend as much as we can be. Yeah.
You were taught to see your body as your enemy. That can be untaught.
Yes.
It can be untaught. It's not permanent. And anyone that comes along to project the same thing is someone who has had it projected on them. We are all literally versions of the projections that have existed in our society and the cycles that have existed to bring us down and to keep us solely focused on harm upon self, like the magazines and the slim tea and the pills and you name it, so on and so forth, which has never been invented for the goodwill of us, for the higher self of us. It was not invented for you. It was invented to keep you seeing you as the enemy, and you are not the enemy. Your body is not. It really isn't. Those that make you feel like that it is, they're the ones to look at and say, you know what? The projection is yours alone. And if you really believe that, that's yours and yours alone, not mine. And it's difficult. We can validate that. Nina and I, like I've said before, we're not saying all this because we have suddenly come to this conclusion out of thin air. We are going through the journey ourselves. Yes. And personally and individually, these are the narratives that we've discovered. These are the experiences that we've had. This is where we've come to. And we're still on the journey, but we say what we say because we know. We know now. We're aware, especially through all the trauma that has unfolded. We know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in saying that, our friends, this conversation, there is always more to this story, to these experiences, to these topics, okay? Just because we're saying what we're saying doesn't mean it's the end of it. And I will say that in every episode if I have to, because people think that just because you say something, that's just it. That's what it is. No, there's so much more to this. So in future, we'll continue the conversation. But for now, thank you so much for listening in on this next episode. I was about to say the number, Nina, and I was like, which number would this be? Thank you for listening to episode 10 from the Daily Humans podcast. And please do take care of yourselves if you've listened to this episode, okay? We're going to put something anyway in the description box just in case. But if you need that reminder, please do take care of self if this has brought up some feelings.
Thank you so much, you guys. Sending love to all of you out there. We're all part of this healing journey together, and you're not alone. And we're always here as well. If you ever need to reach out to either one of us, we're always there. So, yes,
You're not
thank
alone.
you so much. Yes,
Thank
we're
you.
all together. Until next time. Bye.
Bye, friends.